Friday evening. I walked through the door after another long shift soldering circuit boards and troubleshooting stubborn network issues. My name is Darnell Hayes. I am 35 years old, and I work as an electronics technician for a small security systems company in Charlotte, North Carolina. 8 years on the job, 8 years of the same humming fluorescent lights, the same burnt metal smell from overheated components, the same tired ride home on Interstate 77. I honestly thought I'd seen every kind of malfunction a system could throw at me. It turned out the biggest failure I would ever face was waiting quietly inside my own apartment. My wife, Tanisha, was standing by the kitchen counter, leaning against the edge like she had been there for a while. She was scrolling through her phone with this strange, restless energy in her fingers, thumb flicking up and down a little too fast. The light from the screen reflected off her brown skin and caught the faint lines around her eyes that had not been there when we first married. She looked up when I came in, and something about her expression immediately felt wrong. Her smile was too quick and too stiff, like a mask she had slapped on at the last second. "Hey," Tanisha said, and her voice had that falsely casual tone people use when they are rehearsing a conversation in their head. "I need to ask you something." I set my work bag down by the door and walked to the refrigerator. My shirt was still damp from the sweat of being in a hot server closet half the day. I grabbed a bottle of water, twisted the cap off, and took a long drink while I watched her over the edge of the bottle. "What is going on?" I asked. "I need the apartment this entire weekend," she said. She delivered it like she was asking me to grab some milk from the store on my way home. "Do not ask questions. Just go stay somewhere. Maybe at your brother's place or at a hotel." She still was not making eye contact, her focus glued to the glowing phone screen in her hand. She tapped it off a beat too quickly, as though she did not want whatever was on it to be visible when I got closer. I stopped mid-drink and stared at her. "Come again," I said slowly. Tanisha took a breath, rolled her shoulders like she had rehearsed the line. "I have some important documents to organize, and I need complete focus," she said. "No distractions, no noise, just me and the paperwork. It is work stuff, tax stuff, all of that. Important documents," I repeated, lowering the bottle. "What kind of documents need an entire weekend and complete privacy?" I tried to keep my voice even, but suspicion had already crawled into my chest and sat there like a weight. In 8 years of marriage, Tanisha had never asked me for anything like this. Not once. We did our taxes together at the kitchen table, while she complained and I double-checked numbers. We handled work forms on our laptops side by side on the couch. Private paperwork was not her style. She finally looked up at me, and I caught a flash of irritation in her eyes, the kind that appears when someone feels questioned, not when they feel misunderstood. I said, "Do not ask questions," Tanisha replied. "It is work stuff, tax stuff, boring paperwork that you would not understand anyway." That last line stung more than I expected. I'm not a lawyer, but I know how to read a document. The way she dismissed me told me more than her words did. My wife worked in marketing for a mid-level company downtown, a firm that helped regional brands polish their image. There was nothing in her job that required kicking her husband out of his own home for an entire weekend. I nodded slowly, watching her face and the tension in her shoulders. "When do you need me gone?" I asked. "Tonight would be great," she answered immediately. "I want to start fresh tomorrow morning." The speed of her response confirmed what I already suspected. This was not about documents. This was about someone else. I kept my expression neutral, even though my mind was racing. "All right," I said. "I will pack a bag and head out." She actually looked surprised, her eyebrows rising just a little. "Just like that?" Tanisha asked. "You are not going to argue or make this difficult?" I shrugged and took another drink of water. "You said you need the apartment," I replied. "So you've got it. I will find somewhere to stay." The relief on her face was impossible to miss. Her shoulders dropped, and she let out a breath she probably did not realize she had been holding. She even smiled a little too wide. "Thank you for understanding," she said. "This will really help me get caught up on everything." "Sure," I said quietly. "No problem." I walked down the short hallway to our bedroom, closed the door, and leaned against it for a moment. The silence in the room pressed in on me. Tanisha thought she was being clever, but she had just made a critical mistake. She had forgotten exactly what I did for a living. Installing security systems is part of my job. I had set up cameras in office buildings, retail stores, and plenty of homes and neighborhoods all across Charlotte. I knew blind spots, angles, and how to make cameras disappear in the background. As it happened, I had a compact wireless security camera and my work supplies that I had been meaning to return to inventory. It was still in my bag from a job I had completed a few weeks earlier. While Tanisha stayed in the living room, likely texting whoever she was planning to bring over, I unzipped my work bag. My hands were steady, my breathing calm, the same way it always was when I was troubleshooting a complicated network problem. The camera was small enough to fit in my palm, battery-powered, with motion activation and remote access through an application on my phone. I tested the lens with my thumb, checked the battery indicator, and felt a cold, focused anger settle into place. I scanned our bedroom, looking for the perfect spot. There was a shelf of books that Tanisha liked to pretend she had read, though I had never once seen her pull one down. Behind a cluster of hardcovers, there was just enough space for the camera to sit at a slight angle. From that position, it had a clear view of the bed and most of the room, including the doorway and a good portion of the dresser. Completely hidden, perfect angle, excellent coverage. The setup took less than 3 minutes. I had done more complicated installations in strangers' homes in half the time. I opened the camera application on my phone, connected the device, and checked the live feed. Our bedroom appeared on the screen, empty and still, with the late evening light coming through the blinds. Audio levels looked good. Motion detection was enabled. Video storage was set to the cloud. As I watched, Tanisha's shadow moved briefly in the hallway outside, then vanished again. I slipped the phone into my pocket, closed the closet door, and walked back to the living room with my backpack slung over one shoulder and a small weekend bag in my hand. She was still on her phone, typing with that same furious intensity. Her eyes flicked up when she heard me. "All set," I announced, setting the bag by the door. "I will be back Sunday evening." Tanisha looked up and gave me that shiny, grateful smile people use when they have just gotten exactly what they wanted. "Perfect," she said. "I really appreciate this." I walked over, kissed her forehead, and grabbed my keys from the hook by the door. "Have a productive weekend organizing those documents," I said. "You know me," she replied, with a light laugh that sounded slightly off. "I will." As I walked to my car, I could practically feel the excitement pulsing from our apartment window behind me. She thought she had won. She thought she had outsmarted me. What she did not know was that I had just installed the most advanced surveillance system she was ever going to encounter. And unlike her weekend plans, my camera did not lie. I checked into a basic but decent hotel about 20 minutes from our apartment, near a strip of chain restaurants and a small mall on the edge of the city. The lobby smelled faintly of cleaning solution and air freshener, and the clerk barely looked up from the computer while I filled out the forms. Nothing fancy, just clean sheets and reliable wireless internet. The kind of place where you pay by the night, swipe your card, and nobody asks why you're there alone with a single bag and a tired expression. Saturday morning, I woke up earlier than I needed to. The thin hotel curtains let in slices of sunlight, and the room was too quiet. I turned on the television for background noise, some local news anchor talking about traffic on Independence Boulevard and a high school basketball game. I dressed, hit the hotel gym for a while, and burned off some of the anger on a treadmill. Later, I grabbed lunch at a black-owned diner nearby where the waitress called everyone sir and ma'am and kept the coffee full without asking. The food tasted fine, but I barely registered it. I even wandered through a Home Depot on the south side, walking up and down the aisles looking at tools I did not need and imagining projects I would probably never do. Drills, ladders, smart thermostats, cameras I could have installed in 10 minutes with my eyes half closed. I must have walked that store twice without seeing any of it. The whole time, my phone felt like it was burning a hole in my pocket. The camera application started sending motion detection alerts around 11 in the morning. Small pings, one after another. Each notification a reminder that something was happening in my home while I was pretending to browse power tools. I ignored them. Whatever was unfolding, I wanted to see the complete picture, not random fragments. I needed context, full coverage, just like I would with any security system review. I told myself to wait, to be methodical, to treat this like an investigation. By Saturday evening, my patience frayed. I went back to my hotel room, ordered a pizza, and cracked open a beer from the vending machine fridge. The television buzzed in the background with some college football game I was not really watching. Finally, I sat on the edge of the bed, opened the camera application, and pulled up the footage. The screen showed my wife in our kitchen, moving around like she owned every inch of that space, which she used to joke about, but now felt like an accusation. She was not alone. There was a man with her. Tall, clean-cut, dark brown skin, a neat fade haircut, wearing khakis and a polo shirt like he had just stepped out of a corporate training session. He moved through the kitchen with an ease that made my stomach twist. He knew where we kept the salt without asking. He opened the right cabinet on the first try. He reached into the refrigerator like he had done it many times before. Tanisha handed him a beer from that refrigerator without him having to say a word. They were not acting like business colleagues reviewing documents. They were acting like a couple. I watched him step behind her, wrap his arms around her waist while she stirred something on the stove. I watched her lean back in him like it was the most natural thing in the world, her head resting briefly against his shoulder. They laughed at some private joke while they ate dinner at our kitchen table, the same table where we had eaten countless meals together. They looked comfortable, familiar, practiced. The first wave that hit me was pure rage, hot and immediate, like a surge through an overloaded circuit. My chest tightened, and for a moment I thought I might stand up and drive straight back to that apartment, storm in, and throw them both out. But years of training kicked in. When I dealt with malfunctioning systems at work, I did not smash things. I observed, tested, gathered data, and fixed the problem step by step. I forced myself to breathe slowly and let the analytical part of my brain take over. I scrubbed back through the day's footage. The motion detection feature had captured their arrival around 11:30 in the morning. Tanisha opened the door, and the man stepped in behind her carrying an overnight bag. An overnight bag. Not a briefcase, not a laptop case. A bag that said he was planning to stay. They had spent the afternoon on our couch, talking and drinking wine, her legs up across his lap like they were on a romantic weekend trip in my home. In our home, the camera did what cameras do best. It captured everything. Faces, gestures, small touches. I paused on a frame that showed his face clearly and took a screenshot, then another from a different angle. His features were crisp. High cheekbones, trimmed beard, expensive-looking watch on his wrist. I took several high-resolution screenshots and saved them to my phone. Then I did what any electronics technician would do when faced with an unknown component in a system. I researched it. I used a reverse image search application that one of my coworkers, Rashad, had shown me a few months earlier when we were playing around during a slow shift. I uploaded the screenshots and waited. Within minutes, one of the images matched a professional photo on a profile. His name was Reginald Lawson, but he went by Reggie, senior consultant at Lawson and Pierce Business Solutions, a consulting firm with a regional office in Uptown Charlotte. It was the same company that had hosted the professional development conference Tanisha had attended 3 months earlier. The same conference where she had mentioned meeting a mentor who believed in her potential. I stared at the screen, feeling the pieces click together one by one like components snapping into a circuit board. Reggie's LinkedIn profile displayed a polished headshot, bright smile, dark blue suit, subtle pattern tie. Underneath, a list of accomplishments scrolled down the screen. Volunteer mentor for young professionals. Panel speaker at business conferences. Proud fiancé to Kimberly Ross. There she was too. Kimberly, smiling beside him in another photo, both of them holding coffee cups and looking blissfully happy. I kept digging. Reggie's company profile boasted about their strict ethics policy regarding client relationships and professional conduct. It described integrity, boundaries, professional behavior both on and off the clock. Their employee handbook, available in a downloadable file, included a section that jumped out at me immediately. It addressed inappropriate relationships involving clients or their family members, noting that violation could lead to immediate termination and possible legal action. His church information came up next. Reggie attended New Hope Baptist Church on the west side of Charlotte, and not just as a casual member. Their website showed him listed as a deacon. There was a photo of him standing beside Pastor Leonard Brooks and other leaders of the congregation, arms folded, dressed in a suit, smiling confidently. Underneath, the church's constitution and leadership guidelines were posted. The moral expectations for leadership were laid out in careful, serious language. Adultery meant immediate removal from all positions and could result in being asked to leave the church entirely. Then I found Kimberly Ross's social media. Kimberly was into wedding planning in a way that looked almost professional, even though her profile said she was a graphic designer at a small marketing firm downtown. Her Instagram feed was filled with venue photos, dress fittings, cake tastings, flower arrangements, and wedding countdown posts. There were short videos of her swirling in a wedding gown while her friends clapped behind the camera. There were photos of Reggie kissing her forehead, holding her hand, standing behind her with his arms around her shoulders. One of the most recent posts hit me like a punch. A picture of Kimberly and Reggie standing in front of a grand-looking building with stone columns and large windows. The caption read, "2 weeks until I marry my soulmate," followed by a string of heart emojis. The location tag said Crane Manor Ballroom, Uptown Charlotte. That was the expensive venue Tanisha had mentioned once in passing when she was scrolling online and daydreaming about weddings other people were having. Reggie and Kimberly's guest list, according to another post, had hit 150 people. Invitations sent, vendors booked, dreams locked in place. My phone buzzed with a text from Tanisha, and the irony almost made me laugh. "Hope you're having a good weekend," she wrote. "Still working on these documents. Much more complicated than I expected." I stared at the message for a full minute, feeling my jaw clench. She was lying to my face while another man, her mentor, was probably sitting 5 feet away, drinking my beer and enjoying my couch. I typed back, "Take your time. I want to make sure everything gets organized properly." Within seconds, she replied, "Thank you for understanding. You are the best." If I had not installed that camera, I might have been sitting in that hotel room, actually feeling guilty for doubting her. I might have believed her story about paperwork, even apologized for questioning her motives. Maybe I would have sent flowers or planned some special dinner when I got home, all while she wiped away any evidence of Reggie's presence and smiled across the table at me. Instead, I sat on that hotel bed and let the truth sink in deeper with every clip I watched. I spent the rest of Saturday night building what I started to think of as a case file. Screenshots, timestamps, company policies, church leadership guidelines, wedding plans. Every piece of information I gathered went into organized folders on my laptop. I labeled every video clip with date and time. I took notes on their body language, their conversations, their routine. It was the same methodical approach I used when diagnosing a complex circuit failure. Only this time the system that had failed was my marriage. Sunday morning, I woke before my alarm. The sky outside the hotel window was still dark, with a faint blue line on the horizon. I lay there for a moment, staring at the ceiling, feeling more tired than when I had gone to bed. Eventually, I reached for my phone and opened the live feed. They were in my bed. Reggie was wearing my bathrobe, the gray one Tanisha had given me for my birthday a few years back, the one that now looked wrong wrapped around another man's shoulders. They were having breakfast in bed, laughing softly, trading bites of food. Tanisha's hair was wrapped in a scarf, and she looked relaxed in a way she had not looked around me in months. The camera angle captured everything perfectly. There was a sick familiarity to it. They moved like people who had done this many times before. This did not feel like a first affair or a one-time lapse of judgment. This felt like a pattern. I stayed in the hotel and continued building my file. Every screenshot was labeled. Every piece of evidence cross-referenced. Reggie's company handbook from Lawson and Pierce Business Solutions had a detailed section on professional ethics. I zoomed in on the line that stated that inappropriate relationships with clients or their immediate family members could result in immediate dismissal. I clipped it, highlighted it, and saved it alongside the videos. New Hope Baptist Church's website was even more explicit. The church constitution described moral expectations for leaders in precise language. Deacons were expected to lead by example, to demonstrate integrity and faithfulness in their relationships. Any evidence of adultery, it said, would result in immediate removal from leadership positions and could affect membership status. I saved that as well. Kimberly's social media remained a gold mine. She had posted a picture just the day before, a close-up of their wedding rings in a velvet box, with the caption, "2 weeks until forever with this man," and a line about how thankful she was for their pure journey, led by faith and commitment. Pure journey. Meanwhile, Reggie was spending his supposed pure weekends in my bed with my wife. Tanisha kept sending texts as the day wore on. Still sorting through everything. One message read, "This is taking longer than I thought." Later she wrote, "I might need most of today too. I hope that is okay." I replied with the same supportive tone, I had been using all weekend. No problem, I typed. Do what you need to do. It was strange how easy it was to pretend. I gave her the performance she expected from me, the understanding husband, while documenting every lie in real time. Around noon, I watched Reggie leave the apartment briefly. The front hallway camera in our building would have captured him, but I did not need that footage. I had everything that mattered from inside our home. He returned about an hour later carrying grocery bags and a bouquet of flowers. They cooked lunch together. Reggie stood at my stove, stirring a pot of pasta while Tanisha sat at the kitchen counter, laughing at whatever stories he was telling about his consulting work. What made it worse was the casual intimacy. This was not a frantic, guilt-ridden fling where they jumped at every sound. They moved with the comfortable rhythm of two people who had built a secret life together. They washed dishes side by side. They watched a movie on the couch, leaning against each other under the blanket that used to be mine and Tanisha's. They took turns folding laundry. It looked like a married couple's weekend, only I was the one who actually had a marriage license. I took detailed notes on their routine. What time they woke up. How long Reggie spent in our shower. Which towels he used. What food they ate. How they shared tasks without needing to talk about who did what. The most important part, though, was their conversations. The camera's audio was crystal clear, capturing every word. They talked about work. Reggie mentioned an upcoming promotion that he believed was a sure thing. He talked about new clients, about how impressed everyone at the firm was with his performance. Tanisha told him about a campaign she was working on at her marketing company, and he offered suggestions, leaning in like a supportive partner. They talked about trips they wanted to take together, places in the United States they had never visited, New Orleans, Seattle, maybe Los Angeles. They talked about long-term plans, about one day moving in together full-time. It was not just a physical affair. It was a relationship with a future in their heads. Around 4 in the afternoon, I watched Reggie pack his overnight bag. Tanisha stood by the door, straightening his collar and smoothing his shirt like a wife sending her husband off to work. They kissed goodbye, slowly and comfortably, like people who knew they would see each other again soon. After he left, Tanisha cleaned the apartment with the efficiency of someone erasing evidence. She changed the sheets. She wiped down surfaces. She sprayed the bedroom and living room with air freshener. She even lit a candle to shift the scent of the space. Then she texted me. I finally finished, she wrote. Everything is organized and put away. You can come home anytime. I waited 2 full hours before responding, just to let her sit with the silence. Great, I wrote finally. I will head back around 7 this evening. Perfect, she replied. I will have dinner ready. When I walked through the door a little after 7 that night, Tanisha was in the kitchen wearing an apron and cooking my favorite meal, fried chicken, macaroni and cheese, and green beans. The apartment looked exactly the way it had when I left, except there was a faint trace of cologne under the layer of vanilla-scented candles. Something unfamiliar. Something not mine. How was your weekend? She asked, walking over to give me a hug and a quick kiss on the lips. She smelled like lotion and cooking oil and artificial vanilla. Her smile looked warm, genuine, practiced. Relaxing, I answered. I finally got caught up on some reading. How did the document organizing go? I asked, moving to the sink to wash my hands. Exhausting, but productive, Tanisha said, turning back to the stove. Everything is sorted now. Tax stuff, work stuff, old files. I am sorry I had to kick you out, but it was necessary to focus properly. I nodded and walked behind her, close enough to smell that lingering cologne again under the candle scent. Sometimes you need space to get important work done, I said. Exactly, she replied with a bright smile. You understand me so well. We ate dinner together at the same table where she had been sitting with Reggie less than 5 hours earlier. Tanisha told me all about her productive weekend, building an elaborate story about sorting through tax forms, organizing receipts, and cleaning out old file folders. She even added little complaints about how confusing some of the forms were. I listened and responded with sympathetic sounds, nodding at the right moments, while mentally organizing my evidence file like a prosecutor preparing for trial. Monday morning, while Tanisha hummed cheerfully in our bathroom and got ready for work, I sat at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee and my laptop. I reviewed my notes, checked my files, and finalized my strategy. 3 targets, 3 coordinated strikes, each one aimed directly at a pillar of Reggie Lawson's carefully constructed life. His fiancée, his employer, his church. It was time to show them all what happens when you underestimate a quiet electronics technician. I waited until Tanisha left for work, watched from the window as her car pulled out of the parking lot, and then opened my email. The first message went to Kimberly Ross. I had found her work email through her company website. She worked as a graphic designer at a boutique marketing firm in Uptown Charlotte. I wrote slowly, choosing my words with deliberate care. Dear Kimberly, my name is Darnell Hayes, and I believe you are engaged to a man named Reggie Lawson from Lawson and Pierce Business Solutions. I am writing because there is something you need to know about your fiancé before your wedding in 2 weeks. I have discovered that Reggie has been having an affair with my wife, Tanisha. I have video evidence of them spending this past weekend together in my apartment while I was away. I am attaching footage from Saturday and Sunday that clearly shows their intimate relationship. I understand that this is devastating news, but you deserve to know who you are planning to marry. The timestamps on the videos will show that this happened while he was supposed to be preparing for your wedding. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you this, but I could not allow you to enter a marriage based on lies. I attached 3 video clips. Reggie and Tanisha cooking together Saturday afternoon in my kitchen. Them in bed Sunday morning, comfortable and affectionate. Reggie leaving our apartment Sunday evening with his overnight bag in hand, while Tanisha kissed him goodbye at the door. I checked the attachments twice and then sent the email at 23 minutes past 9 in the morning. The second target was Lawson and Pierce Business Solutions, specifically their Human Resources Department. Their website listed the Director of Human Resources as Carla Mitchell. I found her email address and began a new message. Ms. Mitchell, I am writing to report a serious violation of your company's ethics policy by one of your senior consultants, Reginald Lawson. Mr. Lawson has been engaging in an inappropriate relationship with the wife of another man, a relationship that developed during and after company-sponsored training events and has continued for several months. I have video documentation of Mr. Lawson spending this past weekend in intimate circumstances with my wife in our home while he is engaged to another woman. This behavior appears to violate the section of your employee handbook regarding professional conduct and the maintenance of proper boundaries with clients or their family members. I am prepared to provide additional evidence if necessary. I attached the same clips and sent the email at about 20 minutes before 10 in the morning. The third email went to New Hope Baptist Church. Their leadership contact page listed an email address for Pastor Leonard Brooks. I opened a new message. Pastor Brooks, I am writing to inform you of serious moral failings by one of your deacons, Reginald Lawson. Mr. Lawson has been conducting an adulterous relationship with my wife for several months. As a church leader, I believe you should be aware that one of your deacons is actively violating the moral standards your church upholds. I have clear video evidence of this ongoing affair, including footage from this past weekend showing Mr. Lawson and my wife together in intimate circumstances in my home. I understand this is a serious matter that affects the integrity of your church leadership. The evidence I am providing shows behavior that is completely inconsistent with the values of Christian leadership your church publicly promotes. The same 3 video clips were attached. I sent that email a little before 10 in the morning. 3 emails. 3 precise strikes, each one professional in tone, factual in content, and devastating in impact. Once they were gone, there was nothing else for me to do except close the laptop, finish my coffee, and go to work like it was any normal Monday. At the office, the day unfolded routinely on the surface. I checked in with my supervisor, reviewed the service tickets that had come in overnight, and started on a job involving a malfunctioning network in a small insurance office on the east side of town. I drank coffee with my coworker Rashad in the break room and listened to him talk about the Charlotte Hornets' latest game. I ate lunch at the usual spot, a fast food place not far from the shop, and on the outside I looked like a man whose life was completely ordinary. My phone stayed mostly silent in my pocket until mid-afternoon. At 2:47 in the afternoon, it buzzed with an incoming call from a number I did not recognize. I declined it and let go to voicemail. A few minutes later, the same number called again. I ignored it. Another number called. I ignored that too. Eventually, I checked the first voicemail. It was Kimberly. Her voice was shaking. "Hello, this is Kimberly Ross," she said. "You emailed me earlier about Reggie. I saw the videos. I need to know if this is real." I need to understand what I'm looking at. Please call me back. I feel like my whole life just collapsed. She started crying before the message ended. I listened carefully, then deleted the voicemail. Kimberly did not need me to help her process her emotions. She had all the information she needed to make her own decisions. Around 3:15, my phone buzzed with a text from Tanisha. Having a weird day, she wrote. Reggie seems stressed about something work-related. I hope your Monday is going better. The sheer absurdity almost made me laugh out loud in the middle of that insurance office server closet. Reggie was stressed about something work-related. All right. More calls came in throughout the afternoon from numbers I did not recognize. I let them all go to voicemail and then deleted the messages without listening. I did not need to hear Reggie's version of events, nor did I need to hear anyone trying to convince me that I had done something wrong by exposing him. Around 4 in the afternoon, Tanisha called me directly. I answered, keeping my voice calm. Hello, I said. Are you having phone problems? Tanisha asked. People are saying they cannot reach you. I called a few times earlier and it went straight to voicemail. Phone has been acting up. I lied smoothly. Might need to get it looked at. How was your day? Strange, she said. Reggie had to leave work suddenly for some kind of emergency. I hope everything is okay with his family. That is concerning, I replied. Hopefully it is nothing serious. Yeah, I am worried about him, she said quietly. We are supposed to meet tomorrow to discuss some project ideas. I almost felt sorry for her in that moment. Not because she was innocent, but because she had no idea that her neat little secret relationship was collapsing in slow motion as we spoke. I'm sure everything will work out, I told her. It was the closest thing to the truth I had said all day. Everything was working out exactly the way it needed to. By the time I left work around 5 in the evening, my phone showed 17 missed calls for various numbers. I deleted all the voicemails without listening. On the drive home, I allowed myself a brief moment of satisfaction. Somewhere across Charlotte, Reggie Lawson was discovering that actions do in fact have consequences. Kimberly was probably on the phone with vendors, canceling arrangements, and watching deposits disappear. The Human Resources Department at Lawson & Pierce was reviewing their ethics policy. Pastor Brooks was probably sitting in his office with his Bible open, staring at an email attachment that showed one of his deacons in bed with another man's wife. When I got home, Tanisha was pacing in our living room, rubbing her arms and clutching her phone tightly. Reggie, please call me back, she said in her voicemail as I opened the door. I'm getting worried. Call me when you can. She hung up and turned to me, her eyes wide with genuine concern. Something is wrong, she said. Reggie is not answering his phone, and he missed an important meeting this afternoon. I set down my work bag and headed into the kitchen, keeping my expression neutral. Maybe his emergency was more serious than he expected, I suggested. I opened the refrigerator and grabbed a beer. The same refrigerator where Reggie had helped himself all weekend. Maybe something happened with his family. Tanisha frowned, biting her lip. I just hope he is okay, she said. She hovered near the hallway, then sank onto the couch, phone still in her hand. Tuesday morning, Tanisha moved around the apartment like a ghost. She checked her phone every 30 seconds. Her coffee sat untouched on the table. The television played the news quietly in the background, reporting traffic backups and weather updates that neither of us heard. Still nothing from Reggie, she muttered. This is not like him at all. I buttered my toast and shrugged as if I had barely heard her. Maybe he is dealing with a family crisis, I said again. She tried calling him one more time while I finished my breakfast. It went straight to voicemail. Reggie, it is me, she said, her voice strained. Please call back. I'm getting really concerned. Around 10 that morning, while I was troubleshooting a server issue at a medical clinic, my phone lit up with several notifications. Kimberly had posted on Instagram. Even though I was not one of her followers, the account was public, and curiosity made me check it. The post showed her engagement ring sitting alone on a table next to crumpled tissues. The caption read, "Sometimes the person you think you know best turns out to be a complete stranger. Wedding canceled. Thank you to everyone who tried to warn me about Reggie's true character." I dodged a bullet. Within an hour, that post had dozens of comments. Friends expressing shock. Family members offering support. A few people hinting that they had always had doubts about him. Screenshots started circulating. People shared the post to their stories. Reggie's professional and church circles overlapped heavily with Kimberly's, and the story began spreading fast. Tanisha called me during my lunch break, and I stepped outside the clinic to answer. Something terrible has happened, she said in a rush. Kimberly broke up with Reggie and canceled their wedding. She is posting horrible things about him online, saying he cheated on her. That is awful, I said, biting into my sandwich as though nothing extraordinary was happening. Any idea what happened? No one knows exactly, Tanisha said. Kimberly is posting these cryptic messages about evidence and proof of his lies. It is devastating. They were supposed to get married in less than 2 weeks. Reggie is not that kind of person. Her voice grew defensive. He is a deacon at his church. He mentors young professionals. He is one of the most honest men I know. The irony hung in the air between us. Sounds like there might be more to the story, I replied. That afternoon, things got worse for Reggie. At about 2 in the afternoon, Kimberly posted again. This time, it was a screenshot of an email from Lawson and Pierce Business Solutions Human Resources Department. The message thanked her for providing information and confirmed that appropriate disciplinary action had been taken regarding Reggie's conduct. It did not spell it out, but the caption underneath left no doubt. Reggie Lawson is no longer employed at Lawson and Pierce Business Solutions due to ethics violations. Turns out his company takes adultery seriously, even if he does not. Tanisha called me in a near panic. Reggie got fired, she said, her words tumbling over each other. Kimberly is saying he violated company ethics, but that does not make any sense. Reggie would never do anything inappropriate at work. What exactly is Kimberly claiming? I asked, though I already knew. She is being vague, Tanisha said. She keeps posting about video evidence and proof of lies. Reggie's whole life is falling apart, and no one understands why. By 4 in the afternoon, New Hope Baptist Church joined the chorus. On their official Facebook page, Pastor Brooks posted a statement. It is with deep sadness that we announce that Deacon Reginald Lawson has been removed from all leadership positions at New Hope Baptist Church effective immediately. After careful review of serious allegations regarding moral conduct, the church leadership has determined that Mr. Lawson can no longer serve in any capacity that represents our Christian values. The comments exploded with shock, disappointment, and judgment. Tanisha called again, now openly sobbing. The church removed him from everything, she said. They kicked him out of leadership. Reggie has been going to that church for 8 years. This is destroying his entire life. That seems extreme, I said calmly. Churches usually only take drastic action when there is solid evidence of serious misconduct. But what misconduct? Tanisha cried. Nobody is explaining anything. Kimberly just keeps posting about adultery and lies, but she will not say what actually happened. That evening, Reggie finally called Tanisha. I was in the living room when her phone rang, and she answered on speaker without realizing how clearly I could hear his voice. He sounded hollow, like someone whose world had been emptied overnight. Everything is gone, Reggie said. Kimberly, my job, my church, everything. Someone sent videos to everyone in my life. Someone was watching us. Tanisha's face went pale. Videos, she whispered. What kind of videos? Us, Reggie said. This weekend. In your apartment. Someone filmed us, and now my entire life is destroyed. Kimberly canceled the wedding and posted about it online. She sent copies of the videos to half the church. My boss fired me this afternoon. The pastor called me personally and told me I'm no longer welcome in leadership. Someone targeted me. My wife sank onto the couch, her phone trembling in her hands. Who would do that, she said. Who could have filmed us? I do not know, Reggie replied, his voice sharp with anger and fear. But whoever was knew exactly how to hurt me. They sent everything to the 3 people who could destroy my life completely. Kimberly, my company, my church. It was strategic. It was planned. It was professional. There was a long pause. Reggie, Tanisha said quietly, her voice breaking. I think I know who did this. Who? He demanded. My husband, she said. Darnell works with electronics and security systems. He would know how to install cameras, how to record everything, how to her voice faded. The timing, the way he agreed to leave without a fight, the fact that he did not ask any questions when I told him I needed the apartment. He knew. He must have known. Reggie's voice turned cold. You told me he was clueless, he snapped. You said he never suspected anything. I thought he did not, Tanisha insisted. He acted completely normal. He did not seem suspicious at all. Well, congratulations, Reggie said bitterly. Your clueless husband just destroyed my entire life. My career, my reputation, my marriage. All because you could not keep our relationship discreet. Reggie, please, Tanisha begged. We can figure this out. We can explain to people that— Explain what? He cut in. That we were having an affair? That I was cheating on my fiancée 2 weeks before our wedding? There is nothing to explain. It is over. Everything is over. The line went dead. Tanisha stared at her phone for a long moment, then turned slowly to look at me. You heard all of that, did you not? She asked. Her voice was flat, stripped of all pretense. I took a sip of my beer and met her gaze evenly. Heard what? I asked. She stood up, hands shaking with a mixture of rage and desperation. Do not play games with me, Tanisha said. You installed a camera in our apartment. You recorded everything. You sent those videos. You destroyed Reggie's life. I set my beer down on a coffee table and leaned back. You wanted the apartment for the weekend to organize documents, I said calmly. I respected your privacy and left. What happened after that is not my responsibility. You knew, she repeated, staring at me. You knew what I was planning, and you set a trap. I knew you were lying about documents, I answered. What you chose to do with that lie is on you. She started pacing, running her hands through her hair, her eyes bright with tears. Reggie lost everything, she said. His job, his fiancée, his church. His entire life is ruined because of what you did. Reggie lost everything because of what he did, I replied. I just provided evidence. Tanisha stopped and turned to face me. We can fix this, she said. You can call Kimberly and Reggie's boss and the pastor. You can tell them the videos were fake or taken out of context. You can say it was a misunderstanding. I actually laughed. A sharp, humorless sound. Fix it, I said. You want me to lie to cover up your affair so your boyfriend can get his life back? He is not my boyfriend anymore, she said through tears. He hung up on me. He blamed me for everything. He said I was careless and stupid. So you lost him too, I said. And that is supposed to make me feel sympathy for you. She dropped back on a couch, sobbing. Please, she whispered. I know I made a mistake. I know I hurt you. But Reggie does not deserve to lose everything over this. Cannot you call them? Cannot you help him? I stood, walked over to our bookshelf, and reached behind the row of hardcovers. My fingers closed around the small camera, and I pulled it out, holding it up where she could see it clearly. This little device recorded everything. I said, you cooking dinner together like a married couple. Your intimate conversations about traveling together. Your discussions about Reggie's promotion and your future plans. Reggie leaving Sunday morning wearing my bathrobe. Tanisha's face went almost gray. You have all of that? She asked. I have everything, I said. Hours of footage. Audio of you planning a future with him while lying to my face about organizing documents. She swallowed hard. What do you want? Tanisha asked. What will it take for you to fix this? I sat down across from her, keeping my voice level and controlled. I want you to understand something, I said. Reggie's life imploded because 3 different groups of people learned the truth about who he actually is. His fiancée discovered she was about to marry a cheater. His employer found out he violated their ethics policy. His church saw that their deacon was living a double life. I did not destroy Reggie. I just showed people who he truly was. But you planned it, she insisted. You targeted the exact people who would hurt him the most. I documented misconduct and reported it to the appropriate parties. I replied. Kimberly deserved to know before spending her money on a wedding. Lawson and Pierce deserved to know that one of their senior consultants ignored their code of ethics. The church deserved to know their leader was a hypocrite. That is all. She wiped her eyes and looked at me with fragile hope. So you will help fix it, Tanisha said. You will tell them it was a misunderstanding. I reached into my work bag and pulled out a large envelope. I set it on a coffee table between us. Those are divorce papers, I said. I filed them this morning. You have 30 days to find somewhere else to live. The hope vanished from her face. You cannot be serious, she whispered. I am completely serious, I said. Our marriage is over. You made that decision when you kicked me out of our home to spend the weekend with another man. But I choose you, she said desperately. Reggie abandoned me. He hung up on me and will not take my calls. I am choosing you. You did not choose me, I replied. Reggie chose for you when he decided you were no longer worth the trouble. That is not the same thing. She grabbed the envelope and flipped through the papers, her hands shaking so badly the pages rustled. You are taking everything, she said. The apartment, the car, the savings account. I'm taking what is legally mine, I said. You are welcome to fight it in court, but judges tend to have opinions about adultery when they are dividing assets. This is vindictive, she said, her voice rising. This is cruel. This is consequences, I answered. She looked up at me, her face streaked with tears. What if I promise to never see Reggie again? She asked. What if I go to counseling? What if I do whatever you want to make this work? I will change my phone number. I will quit my job if I have to. Just do not throw 8 years away. Reggie already made that promise for you, I said quietly. He wants nothing to do with you now that you cost him his career, his marriage, and his reputation. So that is it, she said. 8 years of marriage, and you are ending it over one mistake. I stood and walked toward our bedroom. You did not make a mistake, I said over my shoulder. You made a series of deliberate choices. You lied to me for months. You brought another man into our home. You used our bed and our table and our shower to build a second life. Those were not accidents. Those were decisions. Where are you going? She asked, following me down the hallway. To pack, I said. I'm staying at a hotel while you figure out your living arrangements. The lease is in my name, so you have until the end of next month. She stood in the bedroom doorway while I pulled a suitcase from the closet and started folding clothes. Please do not do this, Tanisha said. I know I hurt you, but destroying our marriage will not fix anything. We can work through this. Couples survive affairs all the time. I placed shirts and pants into the suitcase with slow, careful movements. Our marriage was destroyed the moment you decided Reggie was worth risking it. I said, I'm just making it official. I never said Reggie was more important than you, she said. You did not have to say it, I replied. You showed it when you kicked your husband out of his own home so you could play house with your boyfriend. She leaned against the doorframe, tears sliding down her cheeks. I love you, she said. I know I made terrible choices, but I love you. I zipped up the suitcase and looked directly at her. If you loved me, I said, you would not have spent last weekend in our bed with Reggie Lawson. 3 months later, our divorce was finalized in a courtroom that smelled like old paper and cleaning solution. The judge glanced at the documentation and the evidence I had provided and did not take long to sign off on the terms. Tanisha moved into a small studio apartment across town, working 2 part-time jobs to keep the bills paid. I heard from a mutual acquaintance that she spent a lot of evenings alone, staring at her phone, waiting for calls that never came. Reggie moved back to his hometown in South Carolina after failing to find another job in Charlotte that would pay what he believed he was worth. Word traveled quietly through his former networks. His reputation followed him like a shadow. New Hope Baptist Church filled his deacon spot with another member within a few months, and his name stopped appearing in their bulletins. Kimberly seemed to land on her feet quicker than anyone else in the story. I heard, through a friend of a friend online, that she took a vacation to Miami with her sisters a few weeks after the canceled wedding date. Photos showed her smiling on the beach, the sun shining on her face, her hand bare where a ring used to be. The caption on one of the photos read, "Healing, sunshine, and a fresh start." As for me, I kept our apartment. I bought new furniture, sold the old bed, changed the locks, and installed a new security system that I trusted more than any person. I repainted the bedroom walls a different color and got rid of anything that reminded me of that weekend. The camera went back into my work inventory, just another device in a long list of equipment I had installed and removed. I started dating again eventually, slowly at first. Coffee with women who asked real questions and did not flinch when I mentioned that I had been married before. Dinner with women who listened when I talked about my job and my family. Some dates went nowhere, some lasted a few weeks, and a few felt promising. What I carried with me into every conversation was simple. I refused to tolerate disrespect. I was willing to compromise on a lot of things in life, but not that. Sometimes, late at night, when the apartment was quiet and the city sounds drifted in through the window, I thought back to that first Friday evening when Tanisha asked me to leave our home. I remembered the way her hands shook when she scrolled through her phone, the way she would not meet my eyes, the way she thought she could control the narrative. She had treated me like a background character in her story. She forgot that I had skills, patience, and the will to use both. In the end, I did not raise my voice. I did not break anything. I did not threaten or beg. I did what I had always done best. I looked at a broken system, traced the fault lines, documented the failure, and replaced the parts that no longer worked. This time, the system was my life, and I made sure that next time, it would be built on something that did not short out the moment someone decided the rules no longer applied to them. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.